take one, we're going to do a full run through. All cameras should be sunk on this.
Standing trial in a deadly two-county crime spree that ended with a shootout with Millbrook police. Sentencings are underway in Elmore County for the defendants in the felony murder cases. After sentencing, 3 of the 4 defendants will be heading to Montgomery for another round of trials for murder and charges related to an alleged carjacking. Jennifer Horton has the story.
When I called the case earlier and you said you ain't got time for this, I just didn't know if you had time for this now. You just don't get it, do you?
Elmore County Judge Sibley Reynolds didn't mince his words before sentencing Lakieth Smith. Smith was 15 when he was involved in an armed robbery in Millbrook. It ended with a shootout with police. Those shots ultimately killed suspect Adante Washington. A jury convicted Smith for Washington's death under the accomplice liability law.
Give him a chance to tell you if he saw it.
He's had I've asked 2 or 3 times today. Anything else anybody wants to tell me?
Are you sorry? I'm sorry for my action from home.
Reynolds sentenced Smith to 65 years in prison for felony murder, armed burglary, and 2 counts of theft.
For the jury verdict, he was laughing. And today in court, he was laughing. And I've yet to understand what was so funny. Even though Lakieth Smith was a young man who had his entire life ahead of him, he made a series of really bad choices.
Chief Deputy District Attorney C.J. Robinson says he's thankful these cases are coming to an end, but he feels for Smith's family.
I couldn't help but have some compassion for his grandfather, for his family members who, because of his stupidity, have now lost him for 65 years.
3 of the 4 teens are preparing to stand trial in Montgomery for alleged incidents that happened before they made it to Millbrook. Val?
All right, thanks a lot, Jennifer. Jadarian Hardy and Anthony Washington are still awaiting sentencing. Javarsky Jackson was sentenced to 28 years in prison.
Good morning, Facebook family and friends. Today it is Wednesday, the 11th of April, the year is 2018. So let's get to this. You just saw that video of that young man who was sentenced to 65 years in prison. He turned down, what is this? Lakeisha? How do you pronounce this man's name? Let's see, he was a teenager at the time. He was 15 years of age at the time. An Alabama teen who had turned down a 25-year sentence in a plea deal laughed and smiled in court on Thursday as he was sentenced to 65 years in prison for felony murder and other charges. The judge even heard Lakieth Smith saying, "I don't have time for this," as he was waiting for his case to be called. The judge told him, "You got plenty of time for this," Judge Sibley Reynolds told Smith as he sentenced him to consecutive terms in an Elmore County courtroom. When I called the case earlier, you said you ain't got time for this, so I didn't know if you had time for this now. At this point, Ms. Smith laughed, according to the station, and said he didn't know the judge had heard him. "You just don't get it, do you?" Reynolds said, according to WETUMPKA. He hasn't said "I'm sorry" yet. He hasn't acknowledged to this court that he shouldn't have done, shouldn't have come around. What he should have done should not come around. In fact, his attitude towards this court and life in general has been sour. You have a young man who was 15 years of age who was involved with a group of guys that were breaking and entering into houses in Alabama, of all places. I don't know what they were thinking. Well, they were little kids. They were teenagers. At the time of the crime, this young man was 15 years of age. And let me just say something. The white judicial system in America has been throwing away black teenagers for years. Black life doesn't mean anything to these white judges and prosecutors and attorneys. They don't care because it's just another nigga. They don't care about that shit. So to sit here and watch this judge give this man 65 years in prison, and if you look deeper at the facts of this case, the young man that was killed was shot and killed by the police officer responding to a call that there was a break-in at the house. The police officer arrived at the house, saw the young men running out of the house, confronted them. They began having a shootout with the police officer. The officer in turn killed a 16-year-old kid. And that's why this young man was sentenced to 65 years of murder for the armed robbery charge of the break-in and the death of this 16-year-old kid who was shot and killed by the police officer. Very common situation where they charge where if somebody's killed during the act of a felony, that person is either charged with either that person's death. Either in Georgia, they'll charge you either with murder or manslaughter or various different things they will charge you with. I don't blame the young man for turning down that 25-year plea deal because now he gets to appeal his sentence and he might have a better chance for maybe a reduced sentence. Since at the time this crime took place, the boy is 15 years of age. Should a 15-year-old kid be charged as an adult in a crime that for breaking and entering in a home where the young, I need to do a little bit more research. They said he got some more charges in another county, and it might involve murder there too, so I'm not too sure. I was trying to research to find out what took place in this other county. But in this particular county where this young man was shot and killed by the police officer, I don't think this is a fair sentence for a 15-year-old kid. And I don't doubt in my mind that if this was a white teenager, we would not at all he would not have received this type of extreme sentence. Nor would he have been offered a 25-year. These are teenagers. Because they're black, they're treated like they're monsters. And I've seen this. This is one of the reasons why I never, ever, ever, ever wanted to have children is because of what I just saw on that court case. These kids today are growing up in an environment where nobody cares about them. The parents don't care. The mother and father don't care. The educational system doesn't care. The judicial system care. They're nothing. Just throw them away. They're nothing. What is a group of 15 and 16-year-old kids doing out at nighttime, breaking and entering into houses? Where are their parents? They don't care about them. So you have this mentality about these kids, we have to survive. And it's unfortunate that they made this decision. This is how we're going to survive. We're going to break into this house and steal something that doesn't belong to us for whatever reasons they chose to do this crime. And I can imagine why they committed this crime. Where are the parents? Where were they when these kids have armed with guns? Where did they get these guns from? Where did they get these guns from? Why are they breaking and entering? Does it still mean that does this man deserve a 65 years in prison? No. Ridiculous. Like I said, had this been a white kid, we would never have known about this. These charges would have been reduced to much less, even if there was somebody, even if a death had been involved with one of the suspects, they would not have charged you. We all know how this plays out. And then in the middle of Alabama, tough place to be as a teenager committing crimes because they don't care about you. Alabama has been known for years as having one of the toughest prison systems in America. Modern day slavery. That little kid going to be working for the rest of his life for the prison system. This has been known. I forget, there was a movie many years ago that talked about this guy who escaped from the prison in Alabama, how tough they are over there in Alabama. You couldn't give me a go to Alabama and steal a peanut. They crazy over there. Oh no, back in my crime-filled days when I was a citizen of Niggavile, Alabama, Mississippi, we didn't go that way. We knew better. Because they caught your ass down there, you served some time. In fact, me and Earl were just having this discussion about this situation that took place in Alabama or Mississippi back in the 90s, and that person's still in prison today. Now, this happened back in the late 90s, and this is 2018. And they're still in prison. I said, they still in prison? He's like, they still there. I said, wow. They don't play in Mississippi and Alabama, especially if you look like me. Dark. If you got some, if you're a minority down there, you're in trouble in Alabama. These kids were in trouble when they went out there and committed this crime. And I'm not saying, and trust me, they committed a crime that probably should not have committed, but I do have some serious questions about the judicial system, how they handle this, have serious questions about the parenting, where I can imagine these kids have lived some horrible lives, because I see it right here in Atlanta. I sometimes wonder, are black folks blind to what's going on in our communities? Don't y'all see these kids out here? I go to a couple of stores in this area, and I was at where was I at? I was at a store not too long ago, and I was walking into the store, and this group of kids was standing outside begging for money. They couldn't have been no more than 14, 15, 16 years of age. And this is during the daytime. They should have been in school. And in fact, I said, "School's out today?" And they was like, "Oh, no, we don't have any school. We don't have anything to eat. We haven't had breakfast or anything." And I believe this. And I said, "Okay." And so I reached into my pocket and I said, "Well, you know what? I gave each one of those kids, I had a bunch of change and just got back from the casino from the cruise. And so I gave each one of those, just about 4 of them, I gave them each one of them $20 each. And I said, if this is true, you have not had any breakfast, go get you something to eat." I don't know where they could have got something to eat because where we were at, there were no restaurants or nothing over there. They probably found some fast food. And the kids took that money and took off. They were glad. I'd rather give those kids $20 each. And I really wish I had gotten their phone numbers so I can go by their house and see I already know how these kids are living. I know how they're living. We just got back from Alabama. We just got back from the cruise ship. This refrigerator empty. I got to go to the grocery store and fill it back up. And when we left, I said, there ain't no sense. We threw out a bunch of stuff that we knew was going to be no good when we got back. I barely got coffee creamer in that refrigerator. That's basically it. And a birthday cake from yesterday Earl got me for my birthday. And then in that refrigerator, normally that refrigerator is stocked with food. So I can imagine these children live in a household. Y'all don't see this stuff. I really do think black folks are blind to this. We don't see the poverty and despair going on in our communities. We just don't see it for some reason. But I see it every damn day. I look at these kids. When I look at them boys yesterday, I look at the shoes on their feet, raggedy, toe up, dirty. I look at their clothes. I look how they were standing there, hungry. We haven't had breakfast. And I believe it. Because I saw it in my own family. My sister did this to her kids. I've seen this. They bring these children into this world and they offer them nothing. So I don't want any children. How could you bring children to this world and you cannot feed them, house them, clothe them, educate them? They can't do it. But they bring them in every day. Then they toss them out to the street. When they get out on the street, what do you all expect these children to do? They have to survive. They get caught up in gangs and violence and drugs, but we don't see it. And the reason why I say we don't see it is because we're not doing nothing about it. We don't have any youth centers set up that are community-based to bring those young children in and say, here's some breakfast for you. We know your mother and father ain't shit, so let's feed you. And if I had the cash, y'all would open up one. Because nobody should have to get up in the morning and wonder, what am I going to eat? How am I going to take a bath? I don't have clean clothes to wear. We don't see this shit, but I see it. My heart goes out to these kids. And like I said, I saw it in my own family. No place to stay, not their own rooms. Just no water, utilities off. And we drive by this stuff. These are children. A lot of the schools and a lot of public schools offer these kids breakfast, lunch, and dinner and send them home with food because they know they don't have nothing to eat at home. So if you don't have nothing to eat at home, you don't have any clothes, you barely got utilities on, or if there's no parents there, y'all. And I can imagine, this is Atlanta, Georgia. What's going on in Alabama over there? I can imagine these kids have lived some horrible lives. But we ignore this for some reason. And if you think these white folks give a fuck about how these kids grow up, they don't. They never have. And they're not going to. It's up to us. We have to be responsible for children we didn't even bring into this world. When I reached in my pocket and gave each one of those kids $20 each, my heart went out to them because I knew what they were going through. They went live when they said they hadn't had nothing to eat. I looked at them and I could tell. Little skinny, frail, skinny bones. They're not getting food on a regular basis. They should be in school. Why aren't they in school? Nobody wants to go to school with dirty shoes and dirty clothes and you stink and you ain't had a bath. But we don't see this. And then we wonder why our communities look the way they look. We wonder why these kids are running wild on these streets. We wonder why those 15-year-old kids just got 65 years in prison. Truthfully, he might be better off in prison. I hate to say this. At least it'd be fair to have a place to stay in a bath and a shower and some place to lay his head at nighttime. Something he may not have even had on the streets. I don't know his background. I would love to know what caused a 15, 16-year-old kid to be out there. But I already know. I'm not stupid, Sydney here. See, I'm not naive. I don't live in this fantasy world where Jesus gonna sweep on me and Jesus gonna save the day. Jesus gonna feed the children. Jesus gonna sweep on me and Jesus gonna save the day. I don't believe in that bullshit because I know better. Jesus ain't came and did shit for nobody. He ain't cared of nobody. He ain't going to because he don't exist. But we too naive and stupid. I look at these churches and I'm going to throw a bomb in them motherfucking places. Some of these churches ain't worth shit. So round up these children in these buses and that they run everybody a fucking Bible study with, pick them up and feed and educate them. But they can't do it because they don't see it themselves. Gotta take care of it. You look at this shit, you just close your eyes, I was on that cruise ship and I saw that. Now, look, guys, and I know a lot of you are probably like the stuff that I have to say about this type of shit, but when these black parents bring these children into this world and give them nothing. I have had family members, my nieces and nephews, practically homeless, but they're having children. No job, no income, no nothing. But they're having kids. I always sit back and say, what is going on here? Why are you having these children? How are you going to feed them? Clothe them? You have no place to stay yourself. I got tired of putting them in houses and apartments and this shit didn't work out. They didn't pay the rent and you paid the rent. This is utter chaos and confusion. So I know why they kid. And see, these judges, you think they'd have compassion about stuff like that. Instead of talking to that 15-year-old kid who's now 19, and instead of sending an investigator to find out why were these children out there doing this, they don't give a fuck. They just another body for the prison system. Judge didn't give a shit about them damn kids. They was going to see all them other black children, send them to all of them going to prison. They don't care. Why would they? They've never cared. They're not going to care. They're never ever going to care. Except to us. I don't even know where to start. That little $20 I gave those kids was nothing. Because they need another $20 today. They do. And if I had the means to store, I really want to say, how can I get in touch with you all? Because you shouldn't be out here on these streets, you should be in school. And I know why you're not here, because you're dirty. You don't want to go to school like this. And nobody cares about you at your home, because otherwise they'd made sure you had breakfast this morning like my parents did for me, fed my ass when I was a child. That's why I love my mother and father. Provided us a place to stay with heat and cool. My father couldn't read nor write, but he made sure his children could read and write and had a place to lay their head at nighttime. We had our own rooms and beds that were clean. We had a washing machine to wash our clothes. We had to use that washing machine. We had a stove. Basic stuff that I took for granted as a child, these kids will never see or never experience. And it's happening in my own family. It's happening as we speak right now. In my own family. So I get it. See, I understand this stuff. And you reach out and you try to help my little nieces and nephews, and they don't want to hear shit you got to say. Because these kids that he brought to this world that they can barely afford to feed and take care of. And this type of stuff is encouraged to have these children go out and what's that Bible scripture that everybody screams out so loud about having children? Go out and be plentiful. I hate religion. Because it gives you all this false, fake hope. My mother gave us Jesus. He ain't did shit for nobody. Me and my mother go back and forth to those religions. Me and my mother have had some rows about her religious beliefs. We didn't went toe to toe over that foolishness. Yes, we have. And I just... It's frustrating. Because how can we resolve these issues? I know why those kids were out there robbing the house. I see these kids. I walk these streets. I drive through these streets here in Atlanta. And I can take you to some neighborhoods where you see all these kids ripping and running like roaches. No adults anywhere to be found. Where are they? I see all these women walk around with these big bellies and they're pregnant. They look like they damn near a crackhead. I know what these kids are going through. My heart goes out to them. It's not just in Alabama where they're throwing away children in the prison system. It's nationwide. Because they have nothing else. There's no desire to help these children. If you think these white folks give a fuck about black children and Black Lives Matter, you are a fool. They don't give a shit. They never have. They don't care. And anyway. I'm staring out my window. I'm looking at these birds chirping and flying around, having a good life. They can go get them something to eat, and I have to pay for it. We live in a world where there's so much greed, and I don't even know where to even start. These black children mean nothing to these white folks. They don't see them as real people. They see them as animals. Their judge didn't give a shit. The prosecutor didn't care. Nobody cared. Not even their own parents cared enough about them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been in that courtroom. Again, I don't know the background of these children. I didn't research it enough yet. There were some family members present in that courtroom. I would love to know, where's Oprah? She needs to be riding over there just to ask those parents, how did this happen? Where were their living conditions? Where did these kids live at? Show me their home. This is their bedroom. Where are their clothes? I like to know, but I already know. I already know. I don't want any children. I don't want to have that responsibility of being able to bring them into this world, this racist, mean, disgusting planet Earth, where their lives just don't matter. I've been to prison. I know what it's like. You walk through there doing, you see all those black guys, it's like, God, it's a sea of black folks. Young and old. Mainly young. Nobody cared. Like they threw me away. So they said, this is the first time a friend you give him probation. Huh? They said, send this nigga to prison. Saved my life, though, because I look at things differently now. Well, I've talked about that in other videos. Anyway, I got a lot of stuff I need to do today. I got up late today. I was trying to sleep and I got a whole bunch of shit to do. I was trying to get this video in today. So I'm going to conclude this video. I'm going to do more research on this stuff. Because I have a lot of questions. I wasn't able to get my answers yet. And if anybody knows or have any input, please put in the comments what kind of background did this kids come from. What took place in this other county you're going to? Is there another... They said something about another murder or possibly something. So I don't understand. If you can post some links or something, just give me the information. I like to read about it. I'll come back and revisit this video again. But right now, I got to end this. Today it is Wednesday, April the 11th. 2 days past my 48th birthday. I made it to 48. A lot of these teenagers today are just not going to make it. Because they don't have the opportunities. They don't have the things that we took for granted as children. It's just a different world out there for these kids, and I feel sorry for them. Anyway, I'm out of here. You all enjoy your day. I look forward to reading you all's comments. I'm out, and I'm out of here.